Hi, welcome to the Whiskey Chicks podcast. My name is Amy.
And I'm Amy's sister, Susie.
We are going to be talking to you about Whiskey Chicks. You may ask yourself, what in the world is a Whiskey Chick? Well, it's a term our Nana, our grandmother, used to describe anything and everything, like a doodad or a thingamajig.
For our purposes today, Amy and I have framed Whiskey Chicks as those random moments in life that accumulate over time that compel us to grow, learn, and evolve. Whether it's good, bad, ugly, funny, or sad, with each Whiskey Chick comes a lesson, an aha moment, a lotus blooming from the mud and muck, resulting in wisdom and healing.
Whiskey Chicks have brought us both to a place in our lives where we love ourselves and speak our truths. The last thing Nana said to me before she passed on was, "Be true to yourself, little A." That was the nickname she had for me. The angel spoke straight through her in that moment, and I knew I had quite a journey ahead of me. It was that Whiskey Chick, the last Whiskey Chick she delivered, that set me off on an incredible growth journey. She is the force behind this creative endeavor. We dedicate every Whiskey Chick to her. We're grateful you're here.
Well, here we are again. Welcome to the Whiskey Chicks podcast. I'm Susie.
And I'm Amy.
And as you know by now, we are indeed sisters. So today we've got something kind of really cool and interesting that we have to be careful not to go down a rabbit hole of confusion and just stick to just the surface of what we're going to talk about today.
Could we get in the weeds with this?
We really could, yeah. So, and I'm certain a lot of things we're going to touch on today we will talk about at another time, because there's lots to talk about where this is involved. But so we're gonna get into some astrology today, and for those of you that, just so you're not confused, astronomy versus astrology. Astronomy is the heavens themselves, and astrology is seeking to know the meaning of what's going on with that. I know that was already profound, but
the astronomy is the science. Astrology is more the creative, interpretive angle of astronomy, if you will.
Exactly.
Spiritual too.
So I think I'm just going to start by saying this, that the moment that we are born into this world, whatever time and place that is for you, there is literally a blueprint in the sky of planets and stars and whatnot, and it's pretty unique to you. That is what is called in astrology terms your blueprint, starting already, your blueprint for your life. And when you hear people talk about planets being in certain positions and stuff, depending on how that sits in your little blueprint, or it's called your natal chart, it can affect you in certain ways. I'm not going to get into that, but I'm just saying, like, your blueprint is pretty much the same thing as your natal chart.
And we're not talking about sun sign astrology, not like, look up my daily, I'm a Virgo, for example, daily Virgo horoscope. No, you are so much more than your sun sign, so much more. And that's why your natal chart is important.
It's beyond important. It's like the best reference tool that you could have for navigating your life. And it's, something that you can use throughout your years to help you grow and evolve and figure out your life's purpose for being here. And so a natal chart, to me, is there's a lot going on in a natal chart. You look at it, it looks like a chicken just like scratched all over it. I mean, there's signs and symbols and aspects and in this wheel of houses and la 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 la. There's a lot to learn there, and I don't think you ever learn everything.
Might create eggs.
That's right. Eggs could happen, but because a lot of people will be like, well, hey, what's your sign? Amy said she's a Virgo and I'm an Aries, and an Aries, me being an Aries and Amy being a Virgo, are just teeny tiny bits of who we actually are. They're just like a little general tidbit of kind of the, our personality types or whatever. But when we're talking about delving into your soul and the experiences you have in life, your natal chart comes into play constantly. So, but today we're going to we will talk more about astrology in other podcasts, but today we're specifically talking about what is called your North Node and your South Node. And I'm going to let you explain what those are, Amy.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. And here's Amy.
Thank you, Susie, for that just fantastic introduction. So on your natal chart, you've got what's called the true nodes, the true moon's nodes. And on the chart, you'll only see the North Node, and its symbol is represented by something that looks like a pair of headphones. The South Node will be directly opposite of that. But your nodes give you a really good idea of what you came to this earth to do. What is your dharma or your soul's purpose, as well as your karma and the lessons that you need to learn and karma that you need to resolve from past lives that you've brought into this one. So the South Node is the karma part of it, and the North Node is the dharma part of it. So during our lifetime, we're trying to resolve the South Node stuff so we can move toward the North Node stuff. That, in a nutshell, is what these true nodes are, or moon's nodes. They will land, the North Node will land in a house on your wheel. There might be a planet with it, or two or three. There might, it depends, but the most important thing is what sign did it land in. So that's in a nutshell what that is. So I think the nodes are, at least I'm 56 years old. Susie's a few years younger than me, but in her 50s as well.
51 to be exact.
She's 51. But you get to this point in your life, I know for me this has become extremely poignant. You're just like, I'm halfway through. Am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And recently I've been super pulled away from the life I've created up to this point. But using the nodes is an extremely helpful tool to kind of give you some guidance and some aha moments around where you've been and where you still need to go. And astrology is cool in that, I first got into this when I was in my early 30s, and even studying my chart back then, I'd already accomplished some of the stuff had already happened on my blueprint. And I was like, whoa, especially when you look back and you're like, oh my God, this happened, that happened, So, but these nodes will help guide you and give you some incredible aha moments. Like it will literally, for me, it's like a punch in the gut. It really is. Especially, I'm in preparation for this podcast, I was rereading a lot of my North Node stuff, and it's just describing exactly what I've been going through over the last few months. I'll share that my North Node is Aries, and my South Node is in Libra automatically. If the North Node is in Aries, the South Node is in Libra. And I happen to be right now in my nodal return. The nodes, the true nodes right now are in Aries and Libra. So anybody who's got an Aries North Node, Libra South Node are being hugely impacted right now because that's where they are. Tugging, pulling, signs, dealing with, it can get kind of chaotic, believe me. But anyway, that's where the nodes are now. And before, I continue to listen to myself talk for this entire podcast, I'm going to say that I discovered the meaning of the nodes just probably, gosh, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And as I was looking at them, the Aries node, and here's what drove me to the nodes. And we're going to talk about this book a little later in the podcast. There's a book that Susie and I really love called Discover Your Dharma. That book drove me to research my nodes because, as I said before, that's where your Dharma lies, is in that North Node. And I started researching it, and the mantra for the Aries North Node is, guess what? Be true to yourself. If you recall, Nana, when she passed in 2009, right, Susie? It was 2009. Yeah. The last thing she said to me was, be true to yourself, little A. And it wasn't until maybe about 5-6 years ago that I got into this North Node stuff and found that. And I about passed out. I started bawling and crying. I was like, oh my goodness gracious. I'm going to pause there for a moment.
Klaus, because you're tired of listening to yourself talk. Well, no, I this stuff can, like I said, it's a rabbit hole of information that you just could swirl around in. It's very consuming almost, because I think subconsciously you realize how much you're learning about yourself. I find it interesting that, so my North Node is in Aquarius, and the opposite of that is the South Node of that, opposite to that is Leo. And I think it's interesting. Anyway, my observation is that, me being an Aries, I know Amy can find me challenging at times, like, because I have a very unique personality and presence, we'll just say. And for those of you listening that know me, I think you understand what that means. And conversely, like, I think it's funny that
they're all laughing right now.
I know, ha ha ha, Susie. And, your North Node is Aries. So you have like that energy. And so I have never met an Aquarian that I got along with, like, okay. Like, I found them challenging and they just push my buttons constantly. And here I am sitting on an Aquarius North Node. And I just think that's really interesting.
So the interesting thing is the South Node, even though it represents your lessons and karma and all that, it also shows where your talents are. So, and where you can actually, you can kind of like, those talents can either be used in a constructive way or a destructive way to your spirit, right? So Libra, which is my South Node, is all about harmony and peacekeeping and bringing people together and doing things for others and all that kind of stuff. And I have been doing that almost to a default my whole life. But those are beautiful qualities that I want to carry with me, but with more of an Aries energy. So you want to take the positive from your South Node, move toward your North. So to Susie's point, I need more Aries energy. I need to move toward that Aries energy because, I need more, like, I need bigger balls, essentially.
More cowbell. I need bigger balls. Yeah. Yeah, no, I was reading about some I know some Leos, but I was reading about Leo, my South Node, a little bit, and it was all about like leadership, creativity, charisma, desire for recognition, which I feel like I don't know. I do like applause, I'm not going to lie. But
is that creative... why you liked on the last podcast when I told you I was impressed with you? You're
yes.
Like, ooh.
I was so pleasantly surprised. But like creative expression, natural flair for, doing that, history of, creative talents and stuff like that. I am a classical musician, still playing the French horn to this day. And that to me is a form of my expression. Doing this is a form of expression. And, the thing is with the South Node and all that karma, it's sort of like taking where you've been and not letting it trigger you to go to bad places, but using it to support your dharma and push you toward your life's purpose. And so a lot of people ask me like, Susie, how do you're so together and, blah, blah, blah. You just take things so well. And I'm like, look, that's just started happening like a few years ago. Up until this point, I've been, no offense to Mom, but we were raised to be victims and martyrs
Doormats.
and not be doormats and not be, and that's how she was raised. But, that's not who we authentically are. And we're figuring that out. But anyway, figuring out this North Node, South Node stuff, it's completely different than your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, all that stuff. It's different than that. Like, again, those are aspects of like kind of who you are descriptively and outwardly to the world and personality. This is like your purpose. Like, and
your soul.
And there are words in the descriptions of your whatever South and North Node you are that you put together and you're like, I promise you, I guarantee each and every one of you, if you find your North and South Node and read descriptions about them, you're going to be like, holy crap. And it's either going to be like, this is me, or you might read the North Node being like, well, I've always wanted to blah, blah, blah and start this. And I'm like, that's because you're being pushed to, because it's your dharma. That's the universe being like, come on, freaking slowpoke, let's go,
Yep.
So, and conversely, like the same shit's going to keep happening to you over and over again until you make those changes, because the angels and the guides and the universe are just like, come on, let's go. We're just waiting for you to manifest it. And then we're going to be like, I mean, we've just learned that like not too long ago.
Yeah, it takes time to absorb
I got a little fired
all
up there.
this. Yeah, I know.
Because I'm an Aries.
You're a fire sign. So how do you find your North Node? Well, first you need to run your natal chart. So in order to do that, you need information from your birth certificate. You need your exact time stamped on your birth certificate and the date and the place of your birth. And Susie and I are going to provide a link to a website on this podcast where you can run a natal chart for free and create a profile if you'd like. And then you can see where your North Node is. And then once you know what sign your North Node is, you automatically know the South because it's the opposite. And then there's another website that we really, really like by an astrologer named Karen Black, who gives some really great descriptions and information and reference material on the meaning of the nodes. And she even goes into everything from a good color, like for your North Node. Like for me with Aries, it's red. I should be wearing red. A good crystal is citrine. How do you just even tools like that? How do you help that energy along, with colors and crystals and whatnot, but very, very detailed stuff. So we'll definitely be linking some places for you to go to discover all this about yourself. So, but you need your natal chart. You got to start there.
Yeah. So this website is really cool. They're based in Switzerland, and it's called Astrodienst, but the website is astro.com. And there's a lot going on this website. Oh my gosh, but start with setting up a profile with the information Amy said you need, and pretty much everything on it is free to do. You have to do the research and the work. They do have paid services if you do want to have someone professionally do your natal chart and all that, but I've never looked into that. But anyway, you can look up all sorts of stuff on this website. It's freaking amazing. Allow yourself time if that's what you're going to decide to do, because it's pretty fascinating once you start delving into who you are and reading about it. It's like, it's what we all should be doing. It's homework on ourselves, really. But yeah, I've been using Astrodienst, oh my god, 20 years? long time. They've
Yeah,
been
me
around for a long
too.
time.
That was my mothership astrology site that I discovered decades ago when I first started really getting into astrology and buying books and whatnot. But it's a great website. Highly recommend it. And then also once you find your nodes, like you said, we'll direct you to Karen Black. But once you kind of get some acquainted with your nodes, and if you are Aries Libra, Libra,
Liebe.
if you're Aries Libra,
That's love in German. Liebe.
is it? Ooh, well, that
It
wasn't
is. Yeah,
that
that's
wasn't a
true.
coinky dink.
That's true.
So once you acquaint yourself with your nodes, and like I was going to say, if you are Aries Libra and you have been feeling weird for the last few months, like being pulled to do certain things and feeling unsettled and whatever, it's because it's your nodal return. So all of you out there listening, if you've got an Aries Libra, if you've got Aries Libra nodes,
You got this.
oh, humana, then pay particular attention right now. But then once you're kind of comfortable with that and you've acquainted yourself, there's a book that we absolutely love and highly recommend. It's by an author named Sahara Rose, and it's called Discover Your Dharma. And we'll link that as well. Both Susie and I have read the book, and it is so eye opening. It really helps just kind of expand upon your nodes, and kind of directs you to your soul purpose, like, and what kind of role should you be in? Are you a teacher? Are you an entertainer? Are you a visionary? And it kind of guides you to, beyond your job and the work you do to something that your soul is meant to be doing while you're on this earth. How are you meant to serve? But it's a really good book.
I read this book a few years ago when I was camping in the woods with friends, and I read it in like 3 days, and I loved it because it has like quizzes and stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I swear, my friends were like, "Are you reading a funny book?" So I was laughing out loud like every 5 minutes. So like, oh my god, she's freaking spot on.
Spot on, yeah.
And this woman, Sahara Rose, she's got, I'm sure we'll mention her again at a future date because we use several of her tools in our personal spiritual lives. But this book is like literally a user's manual for figuring this stuff out. I mean, it is the one book to have if you really want to like break yourself down a little to get in touch with that Dharma. And maybe it's like a self-assessment. It's pretty cool. But I've heard her on her own podcast say that she is a old soul in a young body, or an ancient soul in a young body, or something like that. Because she's just beautiful. She looks like a model. I think I'm guessing her background is from India.
She's from India. Yeah. She's also an Ayurvedic practitioner. She's got some great books out on Ayurveda, which I'm sure that's a whole other podcast.
I know. Sidebar,
I have to make sure we say that.
Yeah. Sidebar. I told Amy before we started recording today. My best friend was like, "I listen to your podcast, and you guys are funny and blah blah blah." But you say that's a whole other podcast, like every other 5 minutes or whatever. And she was like, "Maybe you should just have a podcast called This Is a Whole Other Podcast." She's not wrong. That's for sure. But so just for an example, I did write down. So Amy said Aries North Node is be true to yourself. Aquarius North Node is I know. And I think that's really interesting. But it says that I will have personal breakthroughs throughout my life coming from humbling experiences. And I mean, I know that's a general statement, but for me personally, I've had a lot of health challenges since birth, and I'm freaking still here. And and I'm not going to lie, like, they have humbled me. I think the most humbling was probably having cancer 10 years ago. But this is what I found interesting, because Amy and I were told by a spiritual advisor that we're friends with years ago that her and I were supposed to collaborate on something, that we were teachers, but not in a classroom. And I have always been sort of again, those of you that know me, I'm sort of like a ham and an entertainer and just a, I don't know, outgoing person, I guess. But anyway, this literally, I read this. It said my soul mission was to be in a career that affected society. But to be careful of that, because it could make me self-centered. So to be very mindful of that, but to be more of a visionary for humanity, social activist, intellectual for the greater good, poster child for all that is new, progressive, and even radical, champion of a cause, making your own rules, being original, a revolutionary, innovative, rule breaker. And Aquarius North Node literally is connected to the internet, which I thought was really weird. So that's what makes this all sensical. And then I think this, I got this from Karen Black's website. Other North Node Aquarians, this is really funny. Taylor Swift, Einstein,
You're just like her.
Bridget Bardot, the French actress, Oprah, Elvis, and Alicia Keys. They're all very successful, by the way. But anyway, so I think it's funny that there have been a lot of instances in my life where I've had a microphone in my hand or been performing in front of an audience and stuff like that. And who knew that it was potentially grooming me for something like this? But, the bottom line is, you and I have had these experiences that have led us here. And again, all this that we're talking about, this is all recent for us, like less than 10 years ago, some of it less than 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So when I listen to the 20 somethings at work, like, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I'm like, really? 51 bitches still figuring it out. So here's the good news about all this, right? There's no clock on it. And, don't worry about finishing everything before you die, because we never know when that's going to happen. And you don't need to live every day like it's your last and blah, blah, blah. I would just encourage you to figure out a little more about who you are and what makes you happy, and the people that you can be around that makes you feel like your real authentic or your true authentic self can come out. Because once that starts happening, and I've never been someone that's enjoyed being alone. I love being alone. I love it. LOVE it.
Me too.
I don't need anybody else.
Yep.
Even when my dog passed away, as much as that gutted me and I miss her so much. And I was just telling Amy this before we hit record, like, I answer to no one, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. No,
it's all about me.
Yeah. And the Aries Libra node, I mean, the Libra South node is others focused, and the Aries North node is me focused. And as Susie and I we were talking before we hit record, and I'm like, I have been taking care of others pretty much my whole life. I've always almost self-sacrificed to make sure that I gain approval from others, that I'm not rocking the boat, that I'm keeping the peace, that I don't care if it's been in family, relationships, whatever. And now I am so just like me. And like Susie said, I love being alone. I love being alone. And for the first time in my life, I don't feel selfish about it.
No, there's a huge difference between alone and lonely.
Exactly.
Because if you're comfortable being alone, you'll never be lonely. Like me, myself, and I'm never alone. Besides, you've got your angels and guides and whoever's riding shotgun with you tap into. But I don't know.
But when you gain that love of self, I think that's when all of a sudden it's like, I'm good. I don't need, do I want to have friends? And sure, but do I need them? No. I've
Mm-mm.
got me. I love me. I've got me. As you said, you've got, you've got spirit and angels and everybody all around you. But there's this profound sense of, I love being alone, but I am not lonely at all. And that's huge. That's a huge place to get to.
It's very true. So before we give homework and make sure we're committing to our time of not torturing people with us talking too long.
Well, that's right. Oh my God, it's been almost a half hour.
I know. Well, it's easy to talk about, but
Yeah.
just I think this kind of, some people think astrology is bullshit, and that's fine. That's your opinion. I don't think anybody that listens to us is going to think that, because it is quite interesting, and it is based on facts. I mean, there are planets in the sky, and these things are real. They're fact. And
Ancient
so
civilizations lived by it. All
this
of
is
them.
how people used to live all over the earth, guided by what's going on in the stars. So just by saying that, let's just say your natal chart, or these places in the stars and the planets, they are not places in space, but rather insights on who you are becoming. That's what this is about. Who do you want to become in this life? So I will link up the three. What am I doing? I'm doing Sahara Rose's book, Astro.com, and Karen Black. I would encourage you to start with Astro and then hit Karen Black, and then, get the book. I'm telling you, this book is something that you want in your arsenal of spirit tools. It's something that you will reference for years to come, and to remind yourself, like, this is why you're here. Like, don't give up, because you got to do the work.
Yep.
I didn't just assign homework. Wait, I didn't just assign homework. You have to assign the homework. So what's the homework?
Well, what you just said. So the Whisker Chick.
I took your homework.
You did.
Sorry.
Take it back.
I take it back. Oh, I took Amy's homework assignment.
So the Whisker Chick homework is to, at the bare minimum, hit astro.com and look up your natal chart. Remember, you need your birth certificate information. Time of birth is important for the moon and the moon's nodes. So plug that in, check out where your nodes are. Then if you want to take it a step further, start exploring with Karen Black. And then when ready, we highly recommend the book Discover Your Dharma by Sahara Rose. But minimum homework is astro.com, discover your nodes.
Find your node, not your lymph nodes, the north
not
and
your
south
nodes.
Yeah.
Moon's nodes.
For realsies. His nodes. All right, well, we're gonna end it there today. Because we could go on for a very long time. It's about time to cut us off. Anyway, we want to thank you all for being here with us. We are so extremely grateful. You can find us on Instagram, or follow us on Instagram if you'd like. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Follow us, subscribe, give us a like, give us a love, give us some love. And we'll end it here by saying what old Nan would say.
Be true to yourself.